This desk deserves an Apple logo on it, and that's a good and bad thing, depending on where you sit on the Apple-Android spectrum. As you know, Apple is loved and hated most for its unrivaled ecosystem and seamless functionality across all its devices. And that's exactly what makes this desk, the Secretlab Magnus Pro XL, so great and so frustrating at the same time. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Shane and I'm a doctor, manager at a multi-million tech company, and new to the game, desk setup enthusiast. A few months ago, I spent my hard-earned money and bought this desk. For a long time now, I wanted a height-adjustable sit-stand desk, and it was only after moving to a full-time remote role that I finally decided to invest in one. I decided to go with this Secretlab's Magnus Pro XL with the signature black desk mat. I've been using it now for a few months, and I thought it's time to give my honest opinion on it, seeing as I seem to be one of the only few YouTubers who actually bought one using their own money rather than being sent a free unit. I'll start with some boring but important stats about the desk. Then I'll expand on its unique features and explain what makes it Apple. I'll then move on to the 5 things I love about it, the 5 things I hate about it, and end with my verdict on whether you should buy one. And to cut to the chase, the answer is no, but only if you love effortful cable management, have a small office, have a monitor greater than 49 inches, and are taller than 6 feet. If you're none of the above, keep watching to help you decide if it's for you. So here are the boring stats. The Magnus Pro desk is made mostly of metal with a steel chassis and dual electric motors, one in each leg. As a result, it claims to offer precise, smooth, and relatively quiet electronic height adjustment between 65 to 125 centimeters with 3 programmable presets. And finally, it claims to hold a maximum weight of 120 kilograms. Now, one thing to pick apart straight away is that the desktop and this rear cover is actually not solid metal, but is MDF, which is basically man-made wood covered by steel. To be fair to Secretlab, they do disclose this, but only within the technical specs, and most of the marketing materials tend to portray the desk as metal. Not a huge issue as a day-to-day user, but just something to be aware of. Something that is actually important to be aware of is that this desk comes in 2 sizes. The standard one, which is 150 by 70 centimeters, and the XL, which is 177 by 80 centimeters. Now bear in mind that the depth figures quoted also includes the rear cable tray cover, which you can't place or mount anything on. So the usable depth is actually much less than those figures, reducing to 58.5 and 67 centimeters respectively. Now let's move on to the desk's unique world's first features. There are basically 2 main features that are a world's first to this desk. The first is its integrated power supply. Normally, electronic sit-stand desks have a cable that runs to a wall socket from one of its legs. This cable provides power to the desk's motors, and that's all. Meaning that any device on the desk that needs power will require their own independent connection, either provided by a power brick mounted to the desk or by direct connections to wall sockets. In either of these cases, these cables need to have enough slack to allow the desk to move up and down without pulling any of the devices. Often, this extra slack causes the setup to look quite messy, even with the best cable management. For years now, this has just been accepted as a known issue of sit-stand desks with no fixes. But along comes Secretlab, who dare to imagine a world where this problem just doesn't exist. The Magnus Pro desk features a world's first, patent-pending, integrated power supply, where the cable that provides power for the desk to move up and down also provides power to a socket located at the top of the left leg, which leads into a full-size cable tray. This means all the power needed for devices on the desk can be provided by the desk itself. And as a result, there's no need to worry about any cables needing any slack. Not only is this functional, but it's also safer and much more aesthetic. Speaking of function and aesthetics, the second unique feature is the accessible full-size cable tray that enables exactly that. Having a full-size cable tray is nothing new, and even having something that is aesthetic isn't new. The unique thing here is that the cable tray is genuinely easy to access without having to go under the desk. The full-size cable tray at the back allows all the excess cables and power brick to live comfortably, whilst also allowing them to enter and leave at any point across the length of the desk. To pair, this rear cover that opens and closes on these hinges means that the mess of cables can be hidden away with zero effort, but can still be accessed for any modifications in a moment, again with minimal effort. This unlocks flexible functionality and clean aesthetics. However, there are a few things to bear in mind. The hinges are built to last and so are a little stiff, making the opening and closing slightly tricky, especially if you opt for the longer XL desk where physics will be more of an enemy. Next, the middle portion of the cable tray is actually quite difficult to reach, especially from the sides, and especially in the XL variant, meaning that you should definitely spend a bit of time organizing your power brick so that it sits close to one of the ends of the desk if you plan on using its remaining sockets. Moving on, this cable tray and cover solution also limits the ability to mount most desk monitors and boom arms, because it's a very tight squeeze to get to the clamp mechanism, which is located at the bottom of most arms. So a word of advice would be to mount any arms prior to installing the hinged rear cover. But Secretlab have actually thought ahead about this self-created problem and designed single and dual monitor arms that you can purchase in addition to the desk that allows you to mount and install them from the top without having to fish around in the abyss of the cable tray. However, if you have a monitor wider than 34 inches and heavier than 8 kilograms, then you're fat out of luck, I'm afraid, as their heavy-duty monitor arm offering is nothing but a coming soon at the time of filming. This self-created problem and uniquely gated solution is not a new strategy, it's what Apple has been executing on for decades. Which brings me on nicely as to why this desk deserves an Apple badge. Apple has successfully grown into a multi-trillion-dollar business by creating not just excellent individual products, but also by creating a whole functional ecosystem around them. You could just own an iPhone and a PC, but then you would find it a little awkward transferring things between them, and you will inevitably come across someone who has an iPhone and a MacBook and learn about all the cool cross-functional things they can do, like handoff, AirDrop, seamless profile transitions, continuity camera, sidecar, and more. Basically, Apple builds products that are designed to work well alone, but even better together, tempting you to buy more and more of their products until you're so fully immersed into the Apple ecosystem that you could never go back. This is exactly what Secretlab seems to be doing with the Magnus Pro. They've intentionally or unintentionally created problems and opportunities that currently only their own accessories solve. For example, their monitor arms that fit from the top is different to every other monitor arm in the market and works much better with the desk's awkward mounting issue created by the rear cable tray. The non-conventional sizing of the desk when the rear cover is taken out of the equation means only their desk mats fit perfectly with the desk. The metal build of the desk allows magnets to be used to secure cables, which again, pretty much only Secretlab provide with the necessary strength when a desk mat is placed on its surface. The non-standard sizing and metal build together is exploited beyond belief. They charge you £79 to get RGB lights that magnetically attach to the rear of the desk, £25 for a pack of 3 magnetic cable holders, and £29 for their magnetic headphone holder, and the ecosystem keeps expanding with desk risers, Ethernet cable extenders, and more. Now, this is neither good nor bad really. It's bad because they monopolize their accessories, allowing them to charge premium prices. And it's good because they make accessories that work perfectly and seamlessly with the desk, adding to the experience. In essence, they've perfectly executed the Apple strategy. Well, kind of. I was actually able to figure out some hacks that seem to provide me most of the benefit at a fraction of Secretlab's asking price. I'll leave the links to what I used below. Let's next take a look at 5 things I absolutely hate about this desk. First is its lack of stability that starts being noticeable beyond 110 centimeters and goes on to become scarily wobbly after 120 centimeters. My standing height is 101 centimeters, at which the desk feels pretty solid and stable. So this wobble only becomes a limiting factor for those over 6 feet. But at this price point, they really should have built it to be wobble-free no matter the height. Second is its tacky design choices. In general, there are an obnoxious amount of branding elements with logos here, here, and here. This overbranding is most noticeable if you choose any desk mat that's not the signature black. For example, their stealth version provides these branding elements in a regal gold, which is anything but stealthy. The green and red colors for the up and down button is an interesting aesthetic choice that feeds into the tacky feel. Most desks keep them white and classy, which is what I'd like to see them go towards in their V2. The switch to turn off the controls feel very plasticky and cheap. They could have easily made it metal and more flush or inset, rather than looking and feeling like a cheap on-off button from a hairdryer off Temu. Third is the loss of depth due to the rear cable tray, meaning that if you have a monitor larger than 34 inches, then it ends up sitting closer to your face than is comfortable or safe for your eyes. As a result, if you have a monitor greater than 34 inches, you should definitely go for the XL over the standard Magnus Pro, but its enormous length may not fit in your space. That being said, even the XL doesn't give you enough depth for monitors that are 49 inches and above, in my opinion. An alternative workaround is to get their desk riser that lips over the cable tray, allowing the monitor to be mounted further back. But then, this results in some cables showing, which defeats the main point of getting this desk in the first place. Fourth is the limited height presets. Most desks around this price point have 4 presets, enough to save sitting and standing heights for 2 users. But this desk has 3, which actually works well for me as a solo user of the desk. I use one for sitting, one for standing, and one to match the height of this IKEA chest of drawers. But it's a really odd choice seeing as they had plenty of space for the extra button. Another limiting choice is that the external and internal power sockets are only available on the left side. This isn't a big issue with the internal sockets, as the power breaks cable can be run across the cable tray while still preserving the wireless aesthetic. But the issue is with the external wire. If your wall socket is towards the right of the desk, then the external wire will have to run under and across the desk, limiting the wire-free look. I've solved it with some cable trunking stuck to the wall, so there are ways to get around the issue. But that being said, it would have been great to see sockets on both sides of the desk to allow maximum personalization and flexibility. It's not all bad. Here are the 5 things I love about this desk. First is the desk's clean look, unlocked by its integrated power supply, cable management tray, and hidden cable routing channels that allow cables to be tucked away out of sight with minimal effort. Second is the flexibility to access all these sockets and cables without having to go under the desk and unscrew things. Third is the capacity for almost unlimited customization. I like that the full-length desk mat can be swapped, allowing for easy refreshes and personalization tailored to my evolving style. The magnetic functionality works best with the accessories, but as I have done, it can be hacked with cheaper alternatives in some instances, like these cable holders and lights. In number 4 is the integrated backlit touch-sensitive control panel that sits within the desk edge itself without sticking out. This means that I don't knock into it when gliding around in my chair or when I'm moving about while standing at my desk. I can also turn off the controls to avoid accidentally knocking it. Lastly, I love its premium feel and its powder-coated metal finish. Luxurious leather-like mat, smooth dual motors allowing precise control, and soft start and stop. That being said, sometimes it does make a sudden jolting thud right at the beginning of a movement. But for the most part, it gracefully glides with a gentle yet satisfying whir. So, should you buy it? Well, yes and no. Yes, if you're under 6 foot, passionate about cable-free setups, and have a monitor smaller than 49 inches. All the while assuming you have around £700 to £900 to spend on a desk and have a medium to large office space. And no, if you're over 6 feet, don't mind a few cables showing, have a huge monitor, and hate having a gamery vibe. But there's something else to consider here, and that is that the real Apple is rarely first to the party. It often waits, observes, and comes out with the same feature but much more elegantly and purposefully designed. Applying the same principles here, the real knockout and first features here are the integrated power supply and accessible built-in cable tray. But as an average 4 office user, I dislike that I can't have this in a natural wood option, and I also dislike the loss in depth. What I would love to see is the functionality of this desk but in a much more graceful design with an accessible cable tray that just opens towards the edges, allowing a generous center to remain as a mounting point for monitors and more. And at the same time, I'd like more tabletop options for materials and colors, like the beautiful options offered by companies such as Office. But until such a time, I remain patiently happy with this ambitious first mover. Now, if you've been wondering what exactly are these things on and around my desk, then have a look at my desk setup and office tour videos linked on top of the screen or in the description below. There's a good chance that you're probably looking at an empty space right now, and if that's the case, I'm still working hard on these, so subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified when these videos are out. But that's it from me for today. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.